Well, hello again, race fans, and welcome to the iRacing NTT IndyCar Series FIXED from Charlotte Motor Speedway, except we're not on the oval this time. It is the brand new ROVAL configuration. I say brand new, it's been out for a little while, but so fortunate to have it here in the FIXED Series, a chance for all these great oval racing drivers primarily to take their shot at this newish road course that's on the schedule. My name is, of course, Trevor Greenfield, and you are watching VirtualRacing.Network. As always, so great to have you with us and watching live. Now, I am always joined in the booth here for these broadcasts by the one, the only Gary Godso. You can see him there on Twitter, at Gary Godso. Hey, Gary, awesome to have you with us once again, and I am looking forward to a fantastically wacky race. Tell us what we can expect maybe today.
Well, it's good to be here. Normally we have something to go off of, whether it be something from history, whether it be, maybe league races where we have a lot of information to go off of from here. But we really have nothing. There's been no official races here in the real world NTT IndyCar Series. Joseph Newgarden turned a handful of exhibition laps here back in 2018 with the new car pre-aero screen, I believe, for a crowd exhibition during the first weekend of the ROVAL. I think he turned a lap of a minute 7. So it's much faster than the Cup cars were going. I think he averaged about 122 or so miles per hour, but that car was really just set up for exhibition and making laps. Nothing for straight out speed, where you're going to see these guys tonight straight out speed doing probably 103s, 104s, much faster than whatever Newgarden turned in real life. We're going to see some interesting things of these cars going up and down off the banking. Drivers losing control of them because that's something they don't often get into in the fixed series, other than if they might dip a wheel onto the apron, and then that's the case. They're pretty much spinning out anyways. So there's a whole different level of car control going on. But the track itself is fast. It's pretty wide. It should give itself to some a little bit of drafting. We'll get to talk about push to pass for the first time. We'll get to talk about alternate tire compounds for the first time today. Should be a fun race. But the other ones that I've seen for the strength of field, as soon as the leaders get through that opening chicane and take the green flag, they just kind of set sail and go off into the distance. And I'm wondering if we're going to see more of that this time. But we'll see. We got 5 minutes left in qualifying, and my man Oscar Fredrickson is sitting provisionally on the pole with a 104.157.
Absolutely dynamic. We were on board for a lot of it. Thanks for all of the info. Gary Godso, a fountain of information, even at a brand newish facility. And you're absolutely right. They did come here and test earlier. And, again, when they come and do those tests, a lot of times it's safe. They're not really thinking of putting down the fast laps yet, and as you know, it takes time during a normal weekend that the IndyCars visit to really get the track rubbered in with that compound and get those speeds up here. But different deal in iRacing. The tracks are always primed, they're rubbered in and ready to go, and so these drivers can drop the proverbial hammer and get in the fast lap times. And so, they're testing for the new Atlanta Motor Speedway configuration even before it's been built, and we're seeing this a lot more in simulation. And so it's a chance for them to even possibly preview what racing might be like here with the IndyCar. So mark it on your calendar. If the IndyCar Series does visit here in real life, you saw it here first on Virtual Racing. Actually, no, you saw it first. I apologize. Over on Raceverse for the Monday night race, but second, you saw it right here on VirtualRacing.Network. Speaking of Velocity Online Racing, Raceverse, Matt Houston actually in the field today. That is awesome. He's put in the 8th fastest time thus far. Taking a look at who is on the track, Alexis Newsom has just finished her lap. She actually came in second here on VirtualRacing.Network's coverage of the Prime Meridian Racing League yesterday. That was a very special Indy race, so if you haven't seen that, make sure to go back and check it out. Aaron McQuarrie just finishing up his lap. And now Gabriel Amer for Mass Devils Racing. He was out here in the last race Ended up in contact at the very end, but trying to put in a good lap and improve from 15th. It looks like he didn't really get in a very good lap of 107.46. Definitely not going to be good enough to get up there and challenge for top 5. As you mentioned, Gary, really important to get starting position here because of that chicane and because you want that clean air. You want to be able to push as hard as you want to push, and you don't want to lose the leaders given the fact that there will be probably no cautions. Well, there will be no cautions here, right? They don't carry that over from
only
the ovals.
Locals, yeah.
Only locals.
Yeah, and another thing that you're seeing right here is a lot of cars are on the prime tire. You must start the race with the tire you qualify on here. That's a lot of people didn't realize that and then snuck up on them when they went to the that entered the strength of field race on Monday. So that's why you see a lot of people right now on the prime black sidewall tires. The alternate tire is the red sidewall tires, and right now Oscar Fredrickson and Jesper Orman in positions 1 and 4 provisionally. They are the first 2 cars on that alternate tire, with Benjamin Borges and Lars Heinrichs in with the prime tire right off the bat. So the prime tire is going to last longer, and those guys that are on that prime tire at the start of this race are they will want to get around the guys with those softer alt tires as soon as possible, because that will allow them to really open up and maximize their lap times.
Absolutely. That's kind of a shock. I was not expecting that at all. And then as you call my attention to that, indeed, we don't have a graphic that shows it, but to see 2 drivers qualify on those black sidewall tires, the 104.41 and a 104.45 for Benjamin and Lars, that's pretty astounding stuff given where we were just at with these tires just about a season ago. We've got 20 seconds remaining here in qualifying. Only 2, I take it back, 3 drivers out there on track right now. Shane Dunn finishing, actually he's done 2 laps, and Gabriel Lemaire has also done 2 laps. Masato Shimizu out there finishing up, but actually has already turned in 2 laps as well, and that will do it for qualifying.
Yep, 8 minutes, 2 laps. Everyone was on the track, not group qualifying. Everyone is on the track by themselves for those 2 laps. Very similar to what they would face in fixed oval qualifying on the track by themselves. Other than it just give everyone 3 extra minutes versus the 5 they would normally get in fixed oval qualifying. So right now we see cars beginning to line up. There we see Oscar Fredrickson and the white, black, and blue Vor car with the red sidewall tires right next to him. P2 looks like they have the black sidewall tires. The next car also in that Scott McLaughlin Penske livery, also with the black tires. We haven't seen P4 load in quite yet, but we'll see P5 and also P6. They're also on the red sidewall tires. So there we see Jesper Orman loading in. He is on the red sidewall tires. So it looks like positions 1, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are all on the alternate tires, with positions 2, 3, and 8 all on the prime tire. So those guys on the prime tires, they're going to want to get around these red tires drivers as soon as humanly possible. Otherwise, they're going to dig themselves a bit of a hole, even though they'll be on the track a little bit longer possibly, and they'll be turning faster lap times later in the run. They're going to have themselves pretty much at a deficit right away, almost as fast as the second a lap for the first 3 to 4 laps that these red tires are going to be able to pull on these prime tires.
Indeed, exciting stuff to watch the strategy play out. Should be a lot of fun. Looks like Thomas Christensen not racing today, showing up in our chat room and letting us know that he's rooting on his teammates over at 3 Crowns Racing, including Jesper Orman. But Thomas has probably got his popcorn. You know, sometimes it's better to just sit back and watch one of these and not have to compete. You know, just grab your favorite snack and your favorite beverage and just wait for the hopefully not chaos and carnage, or if it is chaos and carnage, that it, of course, doesn't involve your favorite driver. So definitely, if you're out there watching, make sure to stop by our YouTube chat room. Let us know who you are rooting for. We'll run a poll for who's your favorite, or who's the fan favorite at the end of the race. And the only way to vote for that is to be in the channel. So make sure to stop by and put your vote in. And as always, great to have this great round of competitors. It is 2,350 strength of field, so it is the highest of the week thus far. That's great for all of the championship competitors in the field, of which Jesper Orman is one of those. So you can see your qualifying order on the screen. Let's quickly take a look at the points as they are coming in. It's Pablo Diaz-Francis who continues to lead the points here. Christopher Demerit in second, and Jesper Orman there in third. Frequent on Championship Thursday broadcast here on VirtualRacing.Network. But you see a couple of drivers kind of clawing back in. Andrew Marquez, on Alexander Van de Sant, a number of familiar faces. You can also see the number of starts that they've made, and Trey Shadid doing 80 starts compared to a driver like Christopher Demerit with only 7 starts to his name. You know, I tracked it down, Gary. One driver had done already 156 races this season in this series. I can't even conceptualize doing 150 races in the same series. But just let you know some of the commitment and some of the different strategy of the ways that these drivers go about getting their championships set for the season. But as I mentioned, of course, for the championship, there are drop weeks, and so a number of drivers who would be regulars here, predominantly oval drivers, but for example, Hugo Olsen choosing to sit this one out this week. And so we look for a brand new driver possibly here on Championship Thursday to win. The lights are off on the pace car. Will it be Oscar Fredrickson, Benjamin Borges, Lars Heinrichs, Jesper Orman? Who will it be that will take our initial coverage race of the Charlotte Roval? Pretty exciting stuff. We don't get to cover a brand new track that could be a brand new IndyCar track. There just aren't that many of them, but it's a cool way to preview the future.
I do think IndyCar will be here some point. Definitely the next time they do visit this facility, we'll be on the road course. I don't think we'll ever be on the oval, but I'm real excited to see my teammate go at it here, sitting on the pole with the coveted #1, meaning that he has the highest rating going on. Pace car is off, and he's already started to come up to speed, and he is well on the way. And just like I said, first and second place have broken away from the third and fourth place cars as they're fighting to get through that chicane, and they're setting sail already.
Indeed, setting sail, not much movement. Here we can see a little bit further back, a couple of drivers having a problem. That was Aaron McQuarrie having to get around, I believe. Oh, and there is one of the Mass Devils Racing drivers. That's Nacho LDR, who has spun it and gotten into the wall, taken off the front nose cone. So unfortunate for him. Gabriel Amer, his teammate for Mass Devils Racing, right front damage to that car as well. So, but back up at the front, no problems thus far for Oscar Fredrickson as he's over a half lap done.
Yeah, and he's on push to pass, trying to put as much room between himself and Borges, coming into the backstretch chicane. Taking off now, setting sail for the ovals turns 3 and 4, and coming off of turn 4 down to a chicane that cuts through a portion of what used to be the infield tri-oval, quad-oval area. Interesting enough, you'll see a lot of cars dipping their tires off on what appears to be grass there, coming through that chicane area. That is actually painted pavement, so a lot of cars are taking advantage of an optical illusion, getting their cars on pavement to widen out that turn a little bit going into that chicane.
All different strategies for laying down lines depending on who's following you. And Benjamin Borges there having a little moment on his black tires. I think possibly Oscar's tires coming up to temp a little bit quicker, and Borges kind of struggling on those blacks. You know, they've been known, those primaries, to be a little slick on cold when they're cold, so got to get them up to temp. But as you mentioned, second and third place still running on those black tires, and they're going to be able to stay out there quite a bit longer. I was noticing about 22 laps the last race was the fuel window for the driver that ended up winning in the last race. So we look forward to seeing whether or not they will be able to come forward. In the meantime, Oscar Fredrickson does have a mirror full of a Frenchman named Benjamin Borges, and he's going to be... I think Benjamin is going to start having those tires up to temp and be trying to look for a way by. Do you think it's the burritos that's bringing the performance out of that number one machine?
Well, that is a sponsor brought to us by our Canadian teammate Gavin Sanders, who is not participating in the Fixed Series this year, but that is a real life sponsor of his. He races real life racing cars, Nissan Maximas, as a matter of fact, up in Canada. That's his corporate sponsor, and he brought it over to our team. And well, if I ever get up a chance to go to Canada up there, I got a couple burritos waiting for me.
Breakfast of champions up there in Canada. Well, you know, it depends on the level of spice, because Oscar's got his foot down. He seems to be doing quite well. Last time by, fastest lap of the race, and he sets it yet again. Oscar does. It was a 105, a low 105, now a 104.86, and immediately followed with a fastest lap by Benjamin Borges, a 104.79.
Right, with a 104.787. So the prime tire showing some speed here relatively early. We're probably going to start seeing these alt tires fall off here in the next lap or so. So then it's going to be up to Oscar and his driving ability to kind of keep Borges at bay. But I don't think that he'll be able to keep him at bay very long, as much as I'm going to pull for my man Oscar here. I'm just kind of looking at what's on the racetrack at the moment. Oscar might want to consider possibly dipping into the pits early, getting that first stop taken care of as soon as he reaches that window. Get those alt tires off, put on a fresh set of the blacks, and go at it, and probably run him down at that point.
Indeed, and they continue to trade
off there in the turn one area.
Don't quite have a note.
It looks like Mishka Obrist. He's spun off in the he's currently P19, I think, and there he goes. He's just popped back into the pits. But I think what happened to Jesper? Jesper is following. He is off the track. Jesper is in the pits.
Well, that was just a moment ago. We missed it because we were looking at the replay, but let's see if we can... Oh, and what happened was Jesper hit the stopped car of Misha Obrist, who was stalled out in the middle of the track. That is so unfortunate.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. He was sitting there motionless for a while. I'm not sure why they didn't do a reset. If they couldn't do a reset, incapable of doing a reset or something, maybe didn't have the button mapped to easily get to. But they were sitting there for a while, and that's kind of an etiquette thing, though, when you get into these races, that once you get off and you get into an area where the racing is occurring, into the racing line, and you are stationary, you really need to remove yourself from the racing line as fast as possible, because that's exactly what's going to happen with another car rolling up on you, and you're going to impact another car's race. And I'm willing to bet that Jesper might get back in there, turn some more laps, and try to help his rating and everything. But his chance to win is gone now.
That's truly unfortunate for Jesper, and I'm positive he has some heat under the collar after that one. There's, it's difficult enough trying to do well and keep up with the leaders, but once again, lap traffic becoming a problem, and in this case, more so possibly the, Misha is a A-rated driver, but with a 2.17 safety rating, it always kind of indicates there's something a little amiss there. So Misha needs to possibly re-examine what to do in that situation, but there was no way Misha was getting out of that without resetting. So unfortunate circumstances catching one of the series championship leaders and race hopefuls there in Jesper Orman. But this battle continues to rage on. Just 0.3 of a second for the lead here. It's round number 8 from the Charlotte Roval, and Oscar Fredrickson for Velocity Online Racing is leading Benjamin Borges as we are working on lap 7 of 35.
Oscar back on push to pass here. They're coming into one of the longer on the accelerator portions of the racetrack. He now has 8 presses of that left. What that gives you is you have to about 200 seconds of about 20 to 50 additional horsepower that once you hit that button, and as soon as you decelerate or shift a gear, the push to pass deactivates itself automatically, but you'll have 20 seconds of a little bit of additional horsepower to help you on those long accelerating portions where you need a little extra top end speed, but you got to keep in mind you only got 10 pushes, which are 20 seconds each, and it does impact the way that your car uses fuel. And if you are tight on fuel, you don't want to push that button too many times because that will suck the tank dry.
Indeed. You got to watch out. That's the great part, is it's such a management it's such a lot of to keep going in your head. I think the drivers that are able to multitask better, the ones that are more comfortable in the car, are able to adapt their strategy that much quicker and able to decide, yes, I will push harder, I will burn a push to pass here, I'll defend with push to pass, because I know that's going to cost me a half a lap's worth of fuel. So it is a major consideration when you use that push to pass. Another factor here is a lot of these drivers are simply oval based drivers, and that explains a lot of the lower I rating that we've been seeing over the week. A lot of these drivers still in the teens in terms of their I rating, and low 2000s in terms of their road I rating, and so they may not be as used to running these Indy cars on road courses and utilizing that push to pass, because of course you don't have that on the oval.
It's interesting, as little as 10 years ago, IndyCars used to use push to pass on the ovals, and really all it was a slight change in the engine mapping. Normally they would run at engine map 2, and then push to pass they would momentarily flip the car to engine map 1 for a little extra horsepower. There you see Oscar going through the chicane. He now sees that he's now feeling the pressure as he's taking a more defensive line going into the chicane, taking a lower line, trying to keep that lower line defended against Benjamin there. Now they're coming through the second chicane pretty much side by side, doing the exact same line. Back to the inside again for turn 1 to kind of protect, but Benjamin is all over the rear attenuator right now of Oscar.
This is some exciting stuff. I mean, it doesn't matter what series you're watching. When you got a battle for the lead and it's only 0.3 of a second, anything can happen here. Oscar hanging on for dear life right now, but putting down great times, 104.78. Now, the fastest times that we have seen, as we can see, Borges on the button, now trying to get that draft.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Oscar back to purple with a 104.778, but Borges on the outside through the chicane, and he hits the, oh gosh, and Oscar hits those sleeping policemen, and those guys are a bunch of ornery bunch. They kicked the car out from underneath him, and I believe the leader might have damage now as a result of that.
Indeed, we'll have to see how that affects him. We did see some car bits go
leader
flying.
Into the wall. Leader into the wall going through the the quad oval area.
Well, there, if you came into the pits now to fix that damage, you'd have to go a very long time on that one pit stop. So
he has a bad wing. He does have a wing askew. It's a left front wing, and that is going to impact his times going forward. And right now sitting in a very, well, let's say he's salivating a little bit. Lars Hendricks right now in that P2 position. If he doesn't know that there's damage on that car in front, he definitely saw that there was a close situation. He's going to probably start an attack here. He's actually used the push to pass just recently, so I think he sees blood in the water.
I mean, this would be the time you would see that blood in the water. You start salivating like a shark, and definitely you can sense there is a wounded IndyCar right in front if you're Heinrichs. Heinrichs with 27.45 to his iRating name. And so obviously you do get...
Oh, yeah, look at the times last time by. Heinrich Borges with a 106.813, Heinrich with the 105.695, and Oscar's struggling right now with a 114.619. So Oscar, he might be hitting the pit road right now. Yeah, he is hitting pit road right now. He is going to go get those any damage to his car taken care of, and he's going to get those prime tires on right away. He is going to be filling his tank, and he's going to be good to go to the different distance right here.
Well, as you mentioned, Fredrickson going to those prime tires, and we'll see how that works out. In the meantime, we look a little bit further back. It is in third place. It's Donald Bone, who is our top American in the field at the moment, and has worked his way up to third from sixth, obviously getting helped with a couple of incidents ahead of him. Just behind, though, you see Alexis Newsom, as we mentioned. She just won, or she just came in second place yesterday, did well, and won in Lionheart this week. So she's already on a roll and up into fourth, up 3 spots.
And look who's made his way into the top 5, the boss man, Matt Houston, all by himself there in 5th spot, but he has cracked the top 5. And I think anytime that you can finish a top split race in the top 5, that's a pretty good day. So he's shaping up to be a good day right now for the boss man.
Absolutely. And and unfortunately we caught him hitting one of those sleeping policemen, and it did put him up into the wall, but fortunately it looks like he's able to continue and not doing nearly as much damage as Fredrickson and Heinrichs before, or Borges before, but Borges continues around now. He's got it back to a 106.33, and half a second adrift is Heinrich. So just behind, we're looking for Heinrichs possibly to make that move. And of course, we're always happy to give Houston and Race First shout out. We love what you guys are doing for the Indy Fix series. Before this season, there were no broadcasts, and all of a sudden, Strength of Field race on Monday night, and this new Strength of Field race, the Eurosoft as it's being known, but Championship Thursday here on VirtualRacing.Network. Just great that it could come together. We didn't plan it out this way, but now the stars of the Indy Fix series get their due and get their exposure, and we're so happy to do that. And of course, Matt Houston, a big part of that, supplying the channel and doing a lot of the broadcasts and everything. So always great to be able to feature him. Great that he's in the race
for the lead right now, and Borges underneath, Heinrich underneath, getting the pass completed into the backstretch chicane, pulling it off, and we had a new leader.
You do have a new leader. It's Heinrichs with no damage thus far, keeping it clean with that Scott McLaughlin paint job for Penske, and looking good. It's kind of, I think we all kind of thought we would see Scott up there tearing around in the lead this year, but Lars will have to do it in his stead. And Penske really had a difficult year. I mean, Joseph is always competitive, but boy, everybody else, including Simon, who's now out of that ride. Everybody at Penske really struggling, and Scott really not able to get that dream rookie season that I think everybody thought he would get.
Well, that's okay. I mean, he got a lot of, remember, he came from full-bodied cars, a completely different type of discipline. Really the only type of preseason testing he did because of COVID was on here. Then they actually got him into the car, so he was actually using the iRacing service to do kind of some preseason testing and that whatnot before they actually put him in the car. But yeah, a lot of just bad luck for Team Penske. Whether it be Newgarden getting in contact late in the race at Detroit and costing him one of the duels there, or Will Power not even getting his car able to start after a red flag period, and actually losing a surefire win because his car would not fire. Penske had some odd Penske moments, but normally what they say is Penske, when he has off years, the next year they typically are back on it because of well, I think the boss, the captain, tends to motivate.
Yes, I mean, just one stroll of the captain through the tent, and I think everybody snaps to attention. It's always been one of those operations. It's what he's been known for, and that's why he's now in charge of the whole show. So we'll see if Penske can rebound. In the meantime, it's pretty cool to have a sim racing driver out there putting that livery through its paces at the front, and obviously we'll see what happens next season. Heinrich's there, continuing now in first. He's opened up a 2-second gap over Benjamin Borges, who suffered some contact when was trying to make a pass around the outside of Oscar Fredrickson, and Fredrickson getting it loose sideways and clipping Borges. Borges not yet done his pit stop, still suffering with that damage, but in the meantime, Alexis Newsom has gotten around Daniel Bone, and I think we can see that here. Just a second. So here, Bone leading and just coming out of that chicane, unfortunately looping and allowing Alexis Newsom to get by, but he continues in 4th place, up 2 spots today. Again, always cool to see a new name here on the broadcast. And of course, as we were mentioning, Alexis Newsom for 3 Crowns Racing with IAR, fellow American from Kentucky, and she's been just having a fantastic week thus far. So
your leader is coming into some heavy lap traffic. He's about a half turn away from P11 and 12, which are in combat with each other, and P16 and 17, which are also in combat with each other, albeit a lap down. So he's going to be in a quartet of cars all fighting for position, and none of them are, for that matter, are going to want to pull over and let this guy through. That's for sure.
When do you really? I mean, eventually you have to, but certainly if you're still on that lead lap.
You got to respect the blue flag at some point. And remember, we've talked about it here before, whether it be on the Monday night show or the Thursday show. These drivers have long memories, and they will remember when someone screwed them somewhere along the way. And they'll remember when someone doesn't let them by or races them for a position a little bit too hard that they really wanted. And now he's navigating around one of the Masked Devils, and it looks like the boss man is back there too. Matt Houston has fallen back, and now he's gonna try to get through these guys in the chicane where it gets pretty tight right through there. And now he'll have one more opportunity to get him back on the banking before hitting that front stretch chicane. Might be a good time to pit. I would think maybe it might have been a good time to, and there he goes, right there on the pit road.
Well, and on lap 17, now 18 here, pulling it in. So effectively
going for
halfway.
A one-stopper, yeah. Maybe trying to go for a one-stopper here.
Well, again, studying the last race, going 22 laps before his stop. So definitely going right in the middle is one way to go. Also, Alexis Newsom pitting. So, Lars coming into traffic like that, realizing... let's get out of this traffic. Let's dive in, get our pit stop done, come back out in clean air. That's the main thing.
Going with the prime tires again. Should be pointed out the what you were talking about, the livery here. PPG, a longtime sponsor of IndyCar racing. Used to be back in the 80s. It was the PPG Kart IndyCar World Series. That was the series was called.
Yes.
So PPG's been a title sponsor for IndyCar racing for a very, very long time. If you want to support one of IndyCar's sponsors, next time you got to paint your house, go get yourself some PPG paint.
There you go, or your car.
Yep.
They make a wide variety of great paint, and yes, indeed. And PPG, it's one of those logos that gets associated with a series for so long, and then it kind of dropped away for a while, and to come back in such a big way, it just makes sense. These cars are so colorful and so beautiful. That to get that PPG logo back on there is great. And hopefully, the cars aren't really painted anymore. I mean, they have a base paint, so I think that's one of the reasons why they kind of dropped away. But nevertheless, there's all kinds of stuff to paint, including obviously the haulers, etc. Borges in the pits and serving a long time there on pit road.
Yeah, he had to. He was in the box for 14.1, and he's coming out and he's spinning on the cold tires, and he's rubbing up against the wall. Hopefully, he doesn't have any more damage there, but those new red tires are going to be screaming a little bit right now. But he lit them up coming out of the pits, and you got to bring those things up gingerly. But 14 in the one in the pits probably makes sense because it's about 9 seconds, 8 seconds or so in the pits, and then another 5 or so to fix that front wing. So 14.1 makes sense, but he just cost himself a lot of time on the racetrack with that bad exit. Hopefully he doesn't get a black flag out of that.
Well, and speaking of drivers continuing to have issues, we just saw Donald Bone having a moment and spinning
Oscar
about.
Fredrickson is done for some reason.
And
you missed what happened to him.
We'll have to get the down low from your sources on what happened to Oscar to effectively put him out, but imagine it was just a continuation of that same damage that caused the issue. So one thing that should be pointed out, these drivers opting to take alternate tires or taking primary tires, but that's simply a choice depending on what works for you, what you think is going to be faster or better. There is no requirement to take both.
No, so it's unfortunately it's not in the Sims coding to be able to police that yet. For the life of me, I can't see why it isn't, but considering it is part of major not oval racing, just major auto racing period, where IndyCar, Formula One, all those all require a compound change of the tires. They should make that part of the coding somewhere, but well, I guess if NASCAR required it, it would be in the coding.
I'm the wrong person to ask about it. It's got to be in the coding. Yeah, and it gets easy to just. By the way, I should point out Lars Heinrich's 104.42, so now we're getting a lap time commensurate with some of the previous fastest laps that we've seen. But it gets easy to take a look at IndyCar on iRacing and say, why is this way? Why is this that way? It should be this way. It should be like the real life series. Hard to take this iRacing platform that was essentially built 20 years ago, coming up on 20 years ago. Its original foundation is NASCAR Racing 2003.
NASCAR Racing 3, but all of that was predated by IndyCar Racing 1 and 2, which predated all of the NASCAR titles. And everyone tends to forget about that. And actually, the head of iRacing, of course, he was part of that Papyrus group that later got bought by Sierra Online. His first love is IndyCar racing. So, unfortunately, it's like I kind of kid on our other broadcasts. It's a NASCAR world, and we're all kind of living in it. One of the things that I was talking about during my intro for the race first coverage is the etymology of the word ROVAL, and how NASCAR has kind of changed it to suit their own need. But they use the road course here, they call it a ROVAL. And basically for them, a ROVAL is an oval facility with a incorporated road course that also uses part of the oval. But ROVAL used to have a whole new meaning altogether back in the late 90s, mid-90s, when IndyCar visited the Rio Oval down in Rio de Janeiro. It was trapezoidal, and turn one was so tight to the point that they had to downshift and brake to go into turn one. And that's where originally the term ROVAL became a lot more prominent, because it really meant an oval with road course tendencies, not a facility that has both an IndyCar, a oval and a road course that incorporates each other.
Indeed, interesting how each views it. I mean, it is one of those abstract terms that doesn't have an exact definition, but
SMI has even trademarked the term. So I'm like, come on, guys, you're really trying very hard to kind of take ownership of a term that you really don't own, but that's okay. We won't. We've split enough hairs. Everyone knows that if you pay attention to history, you know when the term when the term became prominent, and it has nothing to do with NASCAR or the Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Well, Borges got his damage fixed, and he's on a tear. Last time by a 104.42, same as Lars Heinrich's fastest lap time.
16 seconds back, though.
He's got to do some work. That was the next part of what I was going to say. There's a big old gap he's got to overcome, and really, this is just part of not having those, you can get it a little bit wrong coming into a corner. You can maybe be a quarter of a second or a half a second difference between your fastest laps. You can have a little consistency issue, But when you start having contact with other drivers, having to get damage fixed, making contact with the wall, as we saw Aaron McQuarrie right off the entire back end of that unfortunate Dallara IR-18 IndyCar, you just can't. If you want to be there at the end, you want to be at the front, you've got to keep it clean. And that's the message from today. It's the message pretty much every single week here in the series. Just don't make contact and you'll be there at the end.
Leaders come up to some lap traffic that's sporting a little damage there with Vincent Noteborn. He's sporting that throwback Red Bull white liveried car that they used for Formula One. Of course, that one's painted up by our good pal Dakota the Maid there with Sunset Arctic Graphics, so you can find that on Trading Paints, and you can run that today. That's our good pal's Dakota painted that one up, but he's sporting it nevertheless, and he's got a little side pod damage, but the leaders are around him, and he's got himself they held him up a little bit. It had a 16-second lead. Now it's down to a 13-second lead, but I imagine he'll probably build that back up as he gets clear of this back lap traffic.
Indeed. Beautiful paint job, and it's cool what you can do with trading paints. Have to keep reminding everybody that we're not actually allowed to put copyrighted logos out there that we don't have permission to use. So we can't really focus on it too much, but it is something that some drivers do elect to do. And in the meantime, just to get those complicated liveries designed. Hey, I've done a couple of these Indy cars. I don't want to have to do them any more than I have to.
IndyCar has one of the most difficult templates that I've been told, as just from about every painter out there. IndyCar has one of the most difficult templates out there, and if you could find a good IndyCar painter, you want to give that person a lot of return business, because they got a good talent there. But one of the hardest cars to paint here on the service.
Oh. And there we just join a replay in progress. We can see Matt Houston sliding directly into the barriers in turn 1. And now no nose on that car, having to receive service on pit road. So that's unfortunate for him.
And stay there. He's back in P15, but his teammate, Tommy G, P4 for the old man. All right, let's give it up for the geriatric crew. I'm right there with you, man.
Geriatric crew. Tommy G. I don't even know how old he is, but he's probably not older than me, right?
He's a little bit older than me.
Oh, really? I had no idea.
He's a little bit older than me. I'm in my, I'll just say I'm on my upper 40s, but he's a little bit older than me. But man, he races you hard as anybody else.
Well, and that's the trick. We talk about it all the time, but it's so cool that no matter who you are, really no matter what age you are, certainly we get plenty of people well under the age that's actually allowed to be on the service, but there's no cap to the maximum age, and even well past the time when Gary, I would pull you aside and say, Gary, you know, it worked for Dick Trickle and a couple of others, but yeah, I think you don't want to be in the live race car. You can keep sim racing forever.
I'm sorry. The leader almost got in the back of
was that Gabriella Mayer?
Yeah, one of the Mass Devils car. I don't know if he just snuck up on him really close there or something, but almost in the back of him. Managed to get around it. Sorry, that got a reaction out of me. But yeah, the IndyCar, you know, IndyCar is not a young man's game anymore. I mean, you used to see, you know, kind of Emerson Fittipaldi use it as a second career. AJ Foyt was well into his 60s when he got done with it. Mario, of course, had a bit of a second renaissance in the early 80s, especially when he got to that early Newman Haas team when they got the first of that Lola chassis. He did, of course, he was the 84 national champion, and previous to that, he was a champion back in the 60s. So not an old man sport anymore, but if you look at someone like Scott Dixon, who's one of the older drivers now, he's showing zero signs of slowing down, and he could very well, if he gets a couple more good seasons under his belt and keeps racking up those wins, he could very well catch AJ Foyt's record of 67, 68 wins and pass it at some point. That would be something to see.
That's one very interesting record. Of course, looking at Helio Castro Neves, who just won the biggest race at Indy. Hard to say that he isn't in line potentially to break that 4 timers club.
I think he can absolutely. I think he can absolutely do it. There's no question in my mind.
Well,
I mean, I remember when I saw Rick Mears, I'm thinking there's a guy that can definitely do the 4. And then after that, just kind of his career, and I'm not sure if it's necessarily his drive that went down, and just his body wanted to do it. It just wasn't there anymore. Even though he had the equipment and drive to do it and everything. But I think that Elio is he's got the drive, he's got the body, he's got the equipment, and he certainly has the time to do it. As long as someone wants to keep putting him in the car, I would consider him a threat to win the Indy 500 every year.
For certain. And so one of those things where back in the days of AJ Foyt, you know, it was how tough you are, tough as nails. You could get that dirt and everything all over you on Saturday night and be out there to race on Sunday morning and, you know, respond. And just looking at those old photos of driving at Indy, just how beat up those drivers were trying to get around the track. Nowadays, cars, I hate to say it, but much more comfortable to these drivers, much more, you're not going to get blasted with dirt and gravel and things up in your face with an open-faced helmet like back in the old days. But certainly even beyond that is just the fitness regimens all of these drivers who are in, just that kind of thing didn't really exist back in the 60s. But now everybody knows about nutrition and staying young and keeping young for long periods of time. So here we go, as Alexis Newsom does.
Going a lap down there.
Yeah, going a lap down, but does the cool thing and just kind of pulls over and lets the leader go by.
He's not really in contact with anybody directly, not really racing anybody, not going to really lose a lot of time thing. So does the etiquette thing there very well, and I'm sure that will be remembered in races in the future. But talking about fitness and everything, it just makes me question Louis Meyer going for milk for the very first time. What on earth made you think that that's the thing I want to quench my thirst after a long IndyCar race? Back in those Roadsters days, I at least maybe want some water or something, and he goes for a big bottle of buttermilk for some reason. So,
well, I tell you what, if I had a big spicy fat bastard burrito before I started my Indy 500 and that got me into Victory Circle, I might be looking for something to quench that thirst, whatever. Anytime I have that spicy Mexican food, milk is the first thing I reach for, but to each their own. Hey, let's talk about the end of this race because we've got 5 laps to go. Lars Heinrichs has had a fantastic one.
Yeah, he's very quietly. He's got himself still a 10-second lead. The Borges has eaten into it a little bit since we're talking about burritos here, but hasn't taken the massive chomp. Heinrichs has kept Borges kind of at bay. Kind of kept him in that more than 10-second window where he really doesn't have to worry about anything. He can afford to make a mistake here and there if he needs to. I've seen him kind of under acceleration coming out of that last chicane, coming across the start-finish line, get a little squirrely, but still be able to regain it. I'm sure those black tires at this point in time in this stint are probably screaming, and he wants to get off them as soon as possible. He's still turning laps of 105 going on here, so he still's got plenty of pace, but he wants these next 4 laps to go by pretty quickly, I would imagine.
Yeah, especially how he lost over a second 1 lap, and he's just continuing with those black sidewall tires. And Benjamin has chopped down that lead. Of course, Benjamin having an issue with Oscar Fredrickson pretty close to the early part of this race and taking both of them kind of out of contention immediately. But Borges able to respond, get his car fixed. Unfortunately, a little too late, and Lars kept it clean thus far, although his heart's in his throat as he has to pass another Mass Devils racing car.
And I do want to give a shout out before it's too little too late for our guy in third. I mean, we've not talked about him at all. Alexander Henry, also in a Penske throwback chassis, the Pagano Menards paint job. He is very quietly on the red tires, moved himself into P3. He's all by himself. All he needs to really do is hit his marks here for the next 3 laps or so, because he's second place is hitting the chicane while he's going through turn 1. Fourth place is in the front straight chicane, so he's got no one around him. All he needs to do is hit his marks, and he's got himself a very quiet and very well-earned podium at this point.
You bet. And gaining 15 spots today. Only a 2,309 road racing iRating, so it's not as though he has a massive amount of experience and these others don't. He's just kept it clean.
He opted for alts. I mean, that's he opted for soft each time on to start the race and for his pit stop. So most people wanted to get off those alts as soon as possible. In fact, most everyone's still running. There's still some people on the alternates, but most everyone running right now are on primes. And this kind of tells you that it is a personal choice. I mean, I guess if you can handle a loose handling, ill handling race car with a pair of real well-worn alt tires, all the power to you. And that's maybe another reason why he is in third place.
Well, with 2 to go, just as we focus on it, also back in 6th place, big shout out for another driver who's gained 15 spots, Diego Gomez Tavira, who straight lines that chicane, but well, he's rocking his favorite beverage on the side as well. So people getting into the whole food drink act here. And so he's looking great. Edward Lack for CXR Project Black, putting in a good race again, climbing 8 spots on the day. And Alexis Newsom back in 8th. Well,
this is a battle for position right here. It's getting pretty tight.
Yeah, indeed. Diego and Edward Lack, possibly it's getting close there, but our leader making his way around now, about halfway done with his final lap. And I don't know if this one is going to get quite close enough between Diego and Edward, as it's now squeezing out to about a full second. So we look on, I see Nacho LDR and Matt Houston going off track. We have it appears as though a big incident between them, but
Matt's had a rough day.
Indeed. And Tommy G is going to end up in 4th, but Lars Heinrichs coming through the chicane, the final time, pulls it down to the inside, and that is it. He'll take the victory here on Championship Thursday and earn some great points for the week. Benjamin Borges now coming through in 2nd, and I don't know if he fixed all the damage on that car, but he did end up with a 104.42 at the end of the day and a great lap time. Fantastic drive by him. Alexander Henry finishing up now, coming through what is normally turn 2 here on the circuit, but he's got a ways to catch up to the others. Just letting you know.
He's through the chicane and back up onto the banking here in turns
I've got
3 and 4.
We've got multiple people crashing in the background. Lots of notices, people crashing. Thomas Christensen letting us know oldies but goodies indeed. And I roll in on a mobility scooter. Not exactly. But we're getting there. Either way, even if you have a disability, that's part of... Oh, and Thomas Geisler taken out at the last minute. Who was that? Did he get past the start-finish line? I can't tell.
I am not showing him as crossing the start-finish line.
What the heck just happened? Let's go back. I think it was Bertrand Cordier. Not Bertrand. Forgive me, I don't recognize that paint job, so we'll have to see who is that in the other car. It's not, it was not for position, that is for certain. Just go through
the number 3 car. That is Bertrand.
Was that? I mean,
or is that the number?
It
8?
Is Bertrand.
No, number. Yeah, and he just dive bombs him. He just dive bombs him right there at the very end. That's.
You know, we've done a number of races with Bertrand. That is not what we've seen out of him. So, indeed, he's got a full run into the corner, but Tommy G still a little bit ahead and kind of just turns into him, does the old shimmy chop. Well, and then Cordier comes across the start-finish line backwards. Now, I know that's illegal in certain series, but I don't think it's illegal in iRacing to do that. So, well, you know, Gary, I said it was going to be a little wacky. That is for certain. It was a wacky race today. We saw some names coming forward there at the end that we did not expect. But still, a fantastic race. And, I mean, I had a lot of fun. I got a chance to see some racing I never thought I would see out of the Oval Fixed Series. Unfortunately, it was a little chaotic, a little crazy, and some drivers getting it wrong early on. But nevertheless, a
Yeah.
lot of fun, and I know a lot of these drivers would have had a great day today.
Yeah,
So,
but I think there's a lot of them that are glad that this one's over. Some folks are going to use this one as a drop week, and we move to Milwaukee, back to the Oval next week. And Milwaukee, it's a whole different beast than what we're seeing here. Very flat, 1 mile paper clip shaped oval. We're going to probably see a lot of follow the leader. We'll see, though. There's a lot of cars, a lot of drivers getting some 1 mile oval training this week over in the Open Series where they're racing at New Hampshire this week. We'll see if any of that is going to help them moving on to the older 1 mile oval at the Milwaukee Mile there at the Milwaukee State Fairgrounds. Typically, one of the tracks that always used to host the IndyCars after the Indy 500. This time, it's going to host the IndyCars at the Fixed Series before we go back to Indianapolis for the race on the Oval.
well, that will be very exciting. Have a lot to talk about there in just a moment. I was hoping to get maybe some of our drivers into the booth, but I realized I don't think any of these three top finishers are even registered on our Discord. But certainly the Discord channel is linked down in the description. Make sure you join if you're a competitor regularly in the Fixed Series or just want to talk about iRacing. We do a lot of that over there. But in addition, I was hoping maybe we would get Jesper Orman stopping in for a minute, but then I thought about it and I kind of know what he might have to say in that interview. Still could be a little spicy. Either way, Gary, we had fun watching this one. I kind of wish I had a box of popcorn or Cracker Jacks or something to go along with it. But nevertheless, Lars Heinrichs taking your victory here for race number 8 for the NTT IndyCar Fixed Series on iRacing. And great job by Benjamin Borges to overcome some adversity early on, be able to respond. And Alexander Henry, as we mentioned, coming in third with a fantastic performance. We have not mentioned him at all, but obviously he does know what he's doing on road courses despite that 2309 rating. So Tommy G ending up there in 5th, and I can only imagine how spicy that radio got there at the very end with that dive bomb coming through from Bertrand Cordier.
Yeah.
But a number of drivers having a lot of fun today. Diego Gomez Tavira and Alexander Henry are hard chargers, climbing 15 positions from where they started. And, of course, shout out to all of the drivers who did join us today, even if it was a difficult day, which, of course, it was for Jesper Orman, championship leader, Oscar Fredrickson, who started right up there on pole and unfortunately had an incident that took him out and put him at the back of the field. Also, Mass Devils Racing's drivers, Nacho LDR, as well as Gabriel Amer, not really having the race that you might think that they could put together. Alexis Newsom was running higher up in the order for Three Crowns Racing with IAR, but unfortunately ended up back in 8th place. Nevertheless, she's still going to get 15 iRating. So iRating paying back all the way to 11th place today in Ciro Lopez Santana, who, it's just one of those days where if you kept it clean, you kept it on track, you didn't have too many incident points, and you walked away with a little bit of iRating at the end of the day and some points in the high strength of field race.
Yep. Yeah, and like I said, I think a lot of these folks that we see at the front on the ovals on a regular basis, Aaron, Nacho, Gabrielle, probably glad to see this week done. They're probably like, okay, it's going to be my drop week here. Maybe not. We'll see. Probably happy to get back on the ovals. We got a short oval coming up. Then we have nothing but super speedways to finish out the season. So it should be, they'll be back in their element here soon enough. But once again, let's say the token road course for the schedule is now done. Everyone can mark that off as not having to worry about it anymore. And I'm sure here coming in the coming weeks or whatever, over here on the forums, they'll start asking what they want the tracks to be for next season, and people can pick another road course if they like. Typically, it's going to be like this place or Road America or
Glenn.
The Glenn is the one that a lot of people tend to go after. But we'll see. That you got a chance to pick that schedule once it's up for voting over there on the forums. So check out the forums if you're interested in participating in the Fixed Series next season. So it'll be 2022 season 1, and you can have feedback into that if you vote on that.
You bet. And big shout out to Evan Adams, who picked up that mantle. Very vocal, very out there, talking about different Fixed Series stuff in the community, also part of Open and different leagues, etc. So look over on the forums. You'll be able to vote for that. Definitely, Milwaukee coming up next. Now, Gary, can we just get Milwaukee back on the schedule once and for all? It used to be after Indy, it was just you went to Indy, then you went to Milwaukee. Can we just get it back on the real life schedule? Either way, it is going to be tough next week. It is, and this is the point of the season now, where if you're a championship contender, you've got to do these races, these next 4. These are crucial. You've sat out a couple of races, a couple of weeks. This is when the money is made. And Milwaukee is going to be hard, but if you qualify well, you race well, you stay out of trouble, it's going to be hard to pass, but maybe we'll see that Sebastian Bourdais style dominance and possibly being able to trap all your competitors down a lap or something fun like that. Indy coming up after that should be super special. Daytona, well, who knows what's going to happen there. You can't really think of it as a drop week. Again, you look at all the weeks that some of these drivers have already dropped, and that's difficult to think of yet another potential drop week. You still got to do well, and then Texas is always great for IndyCars. It's always fun to watch in real life as well as virtual racing. So, well, that is going to do it today. No drivers wanted to stop in and slog their competitors, so we'll let them skip this week, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody once again next week. Of course, this was the iRacing NTT IndyCar Series Fixed that you're watching right here at VirtualRacing.Network. We're so glad to have you join us in the YouTube chat room and watching. Make sure to subscribe and like this video, and we definitely only exist monetarily off of the contributions through our PayPal. So if you do enjoy what we do and you'd love to see us continue to grow, please make sure to drop into our PayPal channel and say hello there as well. You've got a link down in the description. So on behalf of Gary Godso and all of the competitors here, the Indy Fixed Series and VirtualRacing.Network, my name is Trevor Greenfield, and we'll look forward to seeing you on Sunday for the U.S. IndyCar League race at 10 o'clock Eastern Time, right here on the same channel, so make sure you subscribe for that. And, of course, we'll also see you next week for the PMRL race on Wednesday, followed by Thursday's Championship Thursday race again. So, until then, I'm Trevor. He's Gary. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Good night.